morning and welcome to Derech Eretz. My name is Lauren Jaffe and I am your new host. We're wishing our previous host, Romy Stach, all the best with her future. The United Nations defines community development as a process where community members come together to take collective action and generate solutions to common problems. It is a broad concept referring to the actions of civic leaders, activists, involved citizens, and professionals improving various aspects of communities, typically aiming to build stronger and more resilient local communities. Rabbi Yossi Goldman elaborates further.
How did the Jewish people survive in the diaspora? For nearly 2,000 years, we didn't really have our own national sovereignty. We were wandering Jews all over the place. So, of course, I would argue that the most important thing was the Torah, our Jewish tradition, our way of life, our moral code, which is equal and omnipresent wherever we are, whenever we are. But at the same time, we needed an infrastructure for that Torah to be able to be effectively promulgated amongst the people. In other words, we needed a community, a kehillah, a tzibur, different Hebrew words for community. Because without a community, we cannot function. Not only do we need a minyan, a quorum of people to have a religious service in the synagogue, we need a community to function as Jews. The term for a synagogue, we call it Beit HaKnesset. Now that does not mean house of worship, as you might have thought it would mean, a house of prayer. No. Knesset is the same term as they use in Israel for the parliament. It's a house of assembly, where Jews assemble. Yes, we assemble to pray, to worship, but we assemble for other reasons as well. We assemble to socialize, to meet each other, to hear what's doing, to hear the announcements. Who had a baby? Who died, God forbid? Who's sick? Who needs a hand? And that keeps us together, that infrastructure. No man is an island, and certainly to practice the Jewish faith without a community infrastructure is difficult, if not impossible. Of course, when one is part of a community, one can turn to community elders or the community trust in times of need. Any viable Jewish community has a Jewish helping hand of one kind or another. It's there to help people. It's a welfare organization that is there not only to bury people, but to help the living, to help those who need find employment, to help those who are unemployed with a monthly subsidy until they can get a job, whatever it might be. And there's larger communal organizations and there's smaller chesed organizations. There's dozens. In a vibrant Jewish community, there are dozens of these chesed organizations, kindness organizations, reaching out to help in one way or another. In my own synagogue, before major holidays like Passover, Pesach, and Rosh Hashanah, the New Year, we do the rabbi's Yom Tov appeal. And I'm proud to say that in our own little way, in the course of the year, we can distribute maybe 500,000 rand to dozens of families who would not manage the extra expenses of a Jewish holiday, of a Yom Tov, without some assistance. It's not unique to us. It's a universal Jewish value. It happens around the world. The law of Ma'ot Chitim to collect and distribute before Passover goes back many, many centuries. It's actually recorded in the code of Jewish law. It's a principle. It's a commandment. It's an obligation. It's not just being nice. It's who we are.
Football has been described as an international language that transcends barriers. Fives football is easily accessible to all, irrespective of age, gender, race, and socioeconomic background. Five-a-side football is the fastest growing format of soccer in the world, and Fives is an effective vehicle to educate, motivate, and inspire.
Football's obviously a passion point. You know, football and music as a way to drive cultural change, let's say. But specifically, the fastest growing form of football was five-a-side. And we'd seen huge opportunity, successful businesses in the UK, and it hadn't been brought to South Africa. What we did was we saw that as a great way to create a social spin, whereby we had these facilities that were generating revenue and profits in the evenings, but in the daytime were underutilized, and could therefore be harnessed by schools, NGOs, and good societal organizations to add value to the South African society.
The two biggest differences, or one of the biggest differences in five-a-side compared to 11-a-side, it's a lot quicker, there's not a lot of breaks in between, the game is constant, so you can definitely use it for your fitness to play 11-a-side and just to sharpen yourself so that you can play 11-a-side better.
So fives we started actually when I was 18, and I failed very hard for my first 2 years, being a naive millennial. And finally we got the right team together and the right set of investors when I was 20 and still studying economics in the UK. At 21 I emigrated to South Africa, and our core team's been with us ever since. So fast forward 8 years, we now have 18 venues across 6 provinces in South Africa, 60,000 monthly customers, and are really beginning, in my opinion, to finally make waves at the general football level across South Africa.
So fast football and its soccer school, it basically started this program not only to create good footballers, but we wanted to create nice, good young leaders for the future. So our focus is not only solely on football techniques, but also teaching these kids how to get along in a group environment, how to be a team player, how it works within a team environment where everybody has their specific roles to play, but it also forms part of the whole. And I find that in Cape Town at the moment, a lot of people are so caught up in their own little bubble that they don't understand how their actions can affect the person next to them. And that's one of the things that we try to push at Five Soccer Schools, is that your behavior on the field as a certain player affects everybody else around you, whether it be positive or negatively. So you need to try and portray the positive side at all times.
So any form of exercise is obviously like a positive spin on health, and you can see it's the way the world's going. I noticed that even me and my friends or my staff now are eating healthier than they did a while ago. The advantage of us is it's five-a-side football, so it's very intense. You come, you arrive, it's a 40-minute, very quick-paced game, lots of goals, continuous sprints, and you're touching the ball more frequently. Going back to the juniors from a development angle, you're touching the ball more frequently, so you improve quicker. There's a reason that Brazil and Spain have been successful in recent times in soccer, for instance, because they start five-a-side at a young age and they push kids to play on a smaller environment.
We take kids from every corner of the globe. We take kids from every background, so to speak, and we give them that opportunity to express themselves. So you'll find at one session, we will find somebody from the Noon, for example, that is sponsored by Fives, rubbing shoulders with a young boy from the Camsway community, which you would never have done before, and they play in the same team. So getting to know each other. As kids, we learn more when we're enjoying it. So we try to make it as enjoyable as possible for everybody else.
In the area of Century City, there is a school around the corner called in Joe Slovo called Sinunjongo High School. Now Ravi began supporting the school a couple of years ago, and we used this facility with the majority of its profits actually funding maths and science teachers at the school. We've then gone as far as employing former students of the school to come work for us as well. The most amazing thing about this is the school's matric pass rate 5-6 years ago was 28%. And with consistent investment and focused on teachers who can impact the kids' lives, it's gone to 94%. Now, moreover, we obviously offer the school free access to facility and train their football team, and we even had 2 of those kids go on to play for Ajax in the junior levels. So it's been a really holistic, successful circle.
Besides all the coaching that happens on our courts, we also go out to the less privileged schools and we offer our services there as well if we can't bus them into our facilities. So we are part of quite a few non-profit organizations that does sports and recreational activities at schools across the Western Cape. So yeah, it's not just about coaching and our junior programs here, but also extending that program out to the rest of the country or the rest of the province where they don't have the facilities to do this.
South Africa has the highest Gini coefficient in the world. I studied economics at university, so it's the highest sort of sense of inequality on an economic level. You can't build a nation and a country with such disparity if those that have aren't giving back to those that don't. And I think any business in this environment to really succeed has to have that at the very core of why they exist. So in terms of Sedaka, we give back in a number of ways. The first thing for me always will be employment, because we need more jobs in this country and it's the only way to drive consistent economic growth. But then as a platform for NGOs who specialize in solving social problems, if we can give them this great platform and make their lives easier for them to focus on education or ECD or giving the right opportunities to the right kids that currently don't have them in their environment, that for us is outstanding. And finally, in the actual physical give back of resources and money. And the moment you're bringing communities together or physically funding extra sports facilities in schools or running leagues specifically for free for certain communities, I think we're kind of making a difference, but we can always do more.
Our facilities are based in very diverse areas. So like we've got this perfect facility out in Century City, but then we also have a similar facility out in Lansdowne, which is surrounded by gangsterism and drug abuse. And it's an outlet for these kids to get step away from that and feel safe in an environment where they are loved and they're enjoying what they're doing, which is football. And we don't do that only 1 hour per week. We encourage them to come more often, even if it's not a formal training session, but just to get away from the everyday life. Come and kick a ball and enjoy yourself. Just be free.
So we always viewed ourselves as a platform for the right NGOs and equivalent organizations. So we've built great infrastructure and we've got staffed infrastructure in good locations, and organizations pursuing the right social aims can then use us as a platform. So if they're focused on HIV testing, they can use us as football tournaments where the incentive for the young male, let's say, is to play football for free if he undergoes an HIV test. Similarly with gender-based violence initiatives, it can be a safe space for girls and women to talk about it on obviously one of the football fields. And thirdly, obviously we try to be a platform for local schools when they don't have fantastic facilities like we do. One of our other great campaigns we've just finished with Total Sports for Mandela Day, which is called Plant a Ball, where we know a soccer ball won't solve South Africa's problems, but by a small step in giving 1,500 away to different beneficiaries and letting the beneficiaries, i.e. the charities, pitch for a bigger allocation of balls, showcasing their great work and getting major media behind it, was a really, really spirited campaign. And it's something that we've grown over a 5-year period, and we're seeing sort of more long-lasting effects within that.
Oh, I met Adam back in 2010 during the World Cup, and I was immediately intrigued by this young man and his vision and his passion for not only football but for social upliftment, and that is how I got involved. If it was purely about money and a job, I probably would have gone somewhere else, but his passion for upliftment and the community is what brought me here, and that is why I think we work so well together, because we've got a similar mindset when it comes to uplifting the community. Adam has brought me from a place where I was working in retail, to be honest with you, and he has encouraged me to better myself and gone from being just a casual coach to now at the moment running the entire junior program. So my journey with Adam Fine has been a long one, difficult one, but it has been a very rewarding one.
The things that Adam has done with the company and where it's gone, it only inspires us to follow in that mold, really. The company's grown. From where I started, there was about 3 venues in Cape Town, and now it's national. So what he does and the way he works with us, it's only for all of us to improve.
Fives Football's Derech Eretz is to provide these wonderful facilities across the country and leave no community untouched, thus creating jobs in those environments and giving more and more great NGOs the chance to use us as a platform to make South Africa a more wonderful place.
Town Torah High is a dual curriculum Orthodox Jewish high school, dividing the school day between the full range of Torah subjects and the highest level of general studies in a supportive and educationally progressive environment. They empower students to think critically, behave ethically, and embrace learning. The Derech Eretz team paid a visit to this beautiful and unique school.
There are those within the community who need something else. So I would say that there are three groups that need a Torah school. The first are the rabbis, generally who want a Torah education for their kids. The second would be religious people who may not be rabbis and they're professionals working in various industries, but they want to live in a community when they have an option to educate the kids on the highest level of Torah education. And then there are those who are not even necessarily religious, but just want to give their kids a more thorough Jewish education.
What is very unique about having a school like this in Cape Town is that we actually have kids from on the whole spectrum of, from the unaffiliated, modern Orthodox, Chabad, Mizrahi, Haredi, all different types of Jews. So it's quite beautiful to see, whereas in other communities, it's like, every school has their shita, their way. And here we've actually found a way to have all different types of children. There's many different ways of expressing Torah. You can see the many different communities around the world, and we've got our mini, kind of island around that at Cape Town Torah High.
One of the pillars in which we stand is that we would like the children here to be lifelong learners, to understand that learning is something which is part of your very being as a person. We should always be learning, and that learning isn't something that happens while I'm at school, during the hours of school. That learning is a lifestyle. I would love children from the school to come out of the school going, I really know myself and I know what I'm interested in, and just to be free to explore the world and who they are in that world.
So I think that the Kodesh, it plays a very big role in the identity of the child. It's not just about the education, about the information that they master, but it's more about how they develop like a self-concept, like of who am I as a person, like why am I alive? What is my purpose in life? And therefore, it's like really a foundation. And education is most successful when the child knows who they are and they have a mission, they have a direction. So I think the Kodesh side is obviously there is an educational aspect. There's a lot of academics. We study a lot of different subjects, and they're assessed, and they have to master them, and the children grow. But the Kodesh is the most important in terms of developing the identity of the child. Another example, I think of other mitzvah. I don't have an example of a mitzvah that we do.
Well, if you've got food, then you say bracha.
Very good. You say bracha on the food, so you elevate that food. Or at a meal, that you make a blessing at the beginning of the meal. Everything that happens in that meal is now elevated. I mean, the idea of these mitzvahs is they actually elevate and they spiritualize and make meaningful the entire item on which the mitzvah is conducted.
The curriculum is divided into the Jewish text studies and into what we call general studies. We spend about 3 hours in each section, and the boys and girls learn separately. So in the Kodesh, religious studies group, we have many subjects that we cover, from the prophets to the 5 books of Moses. There are many subjects, including Jewish law. And then in the general studies side, between grade 7 to 9, we follow a CAPS curriculum, which is the same as any other government school in the Western Cape, so that if a child does want to transition from the school to a different school in those grades, they're able to do so very easily.
In South Africa, you select a few courses to do over 3 years and you matriculate. The American system wants students to be involved across many subjects for a long time and only make actual educational choices when they're a bit older. Because the American-based system is modular-based. So the students learn in modules and they get tested within the module. But then once everything they've learned in that module, they then take it to the next module. But they don't have to study for 3 years and write a final exam, which is the be-all and end-all of passing. So that was the philosophy of education that I believed myself personally to be a powerful way to actually equip students to make sure they get to the point of education where they actually are showing their true strengths.
We use blended learning, where the children use both textbooks and online resources. So normally in a classroom where you have the sage on the stage, the maths teacher up at the board, the class has to go as fast as the child who's not understanding the least. So with blended learning, when it's a video on the screen, they get to pause the teacher and they get to rewind, or they get to watch it at their own pace and not feel like they're imposing on the class, or that they're feeling irritated because the class is going too slowly for them. There is always a teacher in the room, so that if they do not understand the work from the technical support, that they can go to live support and ask for it to be explained to them verbally.
The advantage of a school like this is it has an exponential effect, really. It raises the bar of what's possible for Judaic studies education. And what it does is it actually creates a whole generation of leaders, of kids that go out, the boys and the girls, they go back to their communities, and based on what they're learning here, they're automatically becoming more active in their shuls, in their synagogues, in their camps, in their youth programs, because they're equipped, automatically become exponentially effective, and they impact the whole community.
Taking children and developing them to be proud mention who are contributing members of society in their Jewish life areas and in global society. So these boys and these girls are contributing to the Jewish community. They're contributing beyond the Jewish community. So I hope for every student who walks out of this type of system of education to be filled with a love for Torah, a love for the Jewish people and for people in general, and a love for Hashem and a closeness. And it really brings joy when you really see that happening for your students, and to watch the alumni actually embodying this.
I feel the Derech Eretz of the school is to create an environment for the teachers, the students and the parents where people can explore and get to know themselves, and so well, then they're so comfortable with who they are, that they're comfortable with who their fellow man is, so they're at peace with themselves and peace with their fellow man, and can make a difference in the world according to their Jewish values, and to embrace the world as a place of learning.
Community development involves changing the relationships between ordinary people and people in positions of power, so that everyone can take part in the issues that affect their lives. It starts from the principle that within any community there is a wealth of knowledge and experience which, if used in creative ways, can be channeled into collective action to achieve the community's desired goals. Why not share your views on our Facebook page at Derech Eretz Connect? From me, Lauren Jaffe, and the Derech Eretz team, remember you too can be a part of the conversation.